Hey, how's it going, folks? Well, AEW's Fyter Fest is now over. Let's go over the results of the card as well as thoughts on the card here. Just going to wait for a few people to show up in the live stream before we go over it. And just want everybody's thoughts, what they thought of AEW's second event, Fyter Fest. From Daytona Beach, Florida. Let's wait for a few people here. We got a few people. We got about 6 people in the room and counting. Going to go over the results. Also going to go over my thoughts on the whole card and what I thought of all the matches, including the pre-show and including the unsanctioned main event. There was a few things in there which I do have some criticism over, and then there's a few things there that I really, really enjoyed. Overall, I thought it was a good show. I don't think it was as good as Double or Nothing, but overall it was a good show. So let's start off with the pre-show here. It's called The Buy-In. It was available for free on AEW's YouTube channel as well as BR Live. What's going on, Nab Ahmed? What's up, Lone Wolf? Taikan 234, what's going on? With the pre-show, we had the first match, which was the Best Friends versus SCU versus the Private Party. And I believe this was an excellent opening match. And everybody really, really, it was one of those openers where everybody, had their working boots on. Overall, I really, really enjoy Private Party. They are an excellent tag team, and I feel like in the future they're going to be one of those teams that there's going to be a lot of emphasis on them in the AEW tag team division, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of them. Overall, great match. The Best Friends did get the win over SCU and the Private Party, and obviously, they're going to be somebody who AEW is going to be focusing on in the tag team division. Next up, we had Allie versus Leva Bates. And at the beginning, Leva Bates did come out as a librarian. And Peter Avalon, fellow librarian, I should say, was inside of a tent. And they did their whole librarian gimmick, the whole shh and all that stuff. I got to tell you, I'm not a fan of the librarian gimmick whatsoever. Maybe I don't understand it. Maybe I thought it was good for a little bit. Maybe I think it's good for social media, but overall, I'm not a fan of the librarian gimmick at all. And I just got to say that, what's up, Thomas? That I think that they need to phase that away. Leva Bates, she's good. Peter Avalon is good, but the whole librarian thing, I'm not feeling it. As far as the match goes versus Allie, it was okay. It wasn't a great match. There was some good comedy spots. It was, it is what it is. Allie ended up getting the win on that one. And then next up, the final match on the pre-show, which I want to say is the worst match of the night, was Michael Nakazawa versus Alex Jabali. And Jabali is the head of CEO Gaming. He's not really a trained wrestler. It was a hardcore match. There was use of like tables, kendo stick, kiddie pool. At one point, Nakazawa backdropped Jabali on a pile of Legos. Overall, I want to say this match pretty much sucked, and Michael Nakazawa got the win. And then we go on to the main show. First match, Shima versus Christopher Daniels. And it was a good match. I really enjoyed that as an opening match for the actual card. Shima hit the double knees to Daniel's head off the top rope, ended up getting the pin. And then we had a three-way women's division match, Yuka Sakazaki, Rio, and Nyla Rose. Rio, so good. I really enjoyed her work. It was the first "This is awesome" chant of the night. Nyla Rose is one of those forces to be reckoned with. Very offensive in terms of the defense that she does use. Rio ended up getting the pin with a roll-up on Nyla Rose. And then we had MJF versus Jungle Boy versus Hangman Page versus Jimmy Havoc. And I got to say, MJF is one of the best talkers in all of professional wrestling. He does a great job. He came out there, cut a great heel promo. As far as the match goes, it was a really fun match between, I want to say, two of these guys are going to be top stars within AEW, and MJF and Hangman Page. Jungle Boy, obviously he's good. He's still a little bit green. And Jimmy Havoc, I think that, he's going to have great matches against guys like Joey Janela, against guys like Darby Allin, against guys like John Moxley. Overall, Page did win after he did pin Jimmy Havoc. And then we had Cody versus Darby Allin. And this match ended in a 20-minute time limit draw. If you aren't familiar with Darby Allin, he did some great work with MLW on the independent scene as well. Right at the 3 count from the ref, it went 2, and then it was going to hit 3. The time limit draw did end the match, so the 20 minutes was up, and they're really making wins and losses matter. So for them to go for a draw, it's really pushing Darby Allin as somebody who isn't losing, and he's probably going to be one of the bigger players in AEW. Afterwards, Sean Spears, formerly known as Ty Dillinger in the WWE, he ran in and hit Cody over the head with a chair. It was an unprotected chair shot. Let me see if I can bring up the video of him hitting Cody in the head with the chair. It wasn't that great to look at. Cody ended up falling on the mat, and then the back of his head just pretty much split open. As you can see this chair shot here. I don't know if you can see it on the screen there. Unprotected. Cody didn't put his hands up. Very, very, you know what? I'm not a big fan of chair shots to the head, just for the simple fact that these are things that, concussions, things like that. We've learned over the years that chair shots to the head aren't good in wrestling overall. So I want to say that this chair shot to the head was most likely a work. And they're trying to tell a story here. Sean Spears is going to be a force to be reckoned with. They're trying to show how fierce he is. And I don't believe they're going to be having these types of chair shots to the head often. It's something that they obviously use this one time. But the fact that they kept on speaking about it afterwards, they even mentioned the word CTE. Jim Ross was talking about it. I want to say that this was something planned. And as far as Cody's, the back of his head, it ended up bleeding profusely. And Cody did put an update afterwards that he had to get staples on the back of his head, and there's no concussion. So I'll definitely follow up with that, exactly what happened with that. But chair shots to the head, not a huge fan. I understand they wanted some big impact with Sean Spears. He's going to be one of these main event guys. They wanted to show how fierce he was. Now this program he's going to have with Cody, they want to make it mean something. I understand where they're coming with that, but I wasn't a huge fan of the chair shot to the head. Then one of my favorite matches of the night here, the Elite, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks versus the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid. Kenny Omega and the Bucks, they dressed up as Street Fighter video game characters. Quite honestly, the Lucha Brothers, so amazing. Ray Phoenix, amazing. I really, really am looking forward to more of their matches in All Elite Wrestling. At the end, Kenny Omega did win with the one-winged angel, and it was an excellent match. I want to say the best match of the night, one of the better matches I've seen with AEW. And then from there, that is when the actual pay-per-view ended, and then they turned off the lights and they said the next match was a non-sanctioned match, and it was between Jon Moxley and Joey Janela. This match, Moxley spent many years as a deathmatch wrestler. He wrestled in Combat Zone Wrestling on the independent scene. He's no stranger to this type of match, and there was every weapon you can think of: barbed wire, chairs, tables, regular chairs. There was a barbed wire boards, thumbtacks. At one point, Jon Moxley took off Joey Janela's boots and his socks, and he hit him right. He threw him right into the thumbtacks. So the match did end with Jon Moxley getting what he calls in AEW the paradigm shift. In New Japan, it's called the Death Rider DDT. In WWE, it was called the Dirty Deeds. He ended up getting the W with that. There was a few cool spots here. This one, Joey Janela off the ladder onto the tables. There was another one here with Jon Moxley throwing Janela right onto this barbed wire board. And then they had the final one here with Joey Janela going through the tacks. So that being said, that was All Elite Wrestling's Fyter Fest, their pay-per-view. Definitely take some questions here if anybody else has anything else. Let's see here. It was he hit him on the left side of the head. I want to say that's head, and he was bleeding from the right. So I want to think that the actual, maybe because he fell on his head, that's where he started bleeding. I did notice that where he did hit him, it was kind of like on the back of the head there. So I'm not 100% sure exactly, but wasn't a fan of the unprotected chair shot, to be completely honest with you. Consistency, Moxley versus Janela was insane. Yes, it was insane. EDM Funny, who had the best match? I want to say it was the Lucha Bros and Laredo Kid versus the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega. That was my favorite match of the night. Worst match of the night was the pre-show match with Michael and Jabali. Wasn't a fan of that match at all. But other than that, that was the Fyter Fest pay-per-view. Next pay-per-view is going to be the Fight for the Fallen event, which does come up in 2 weeks from Jacksonville, Florida. That is the next pay-per-view, and that is also going to be free on BR Live. So those watching on BR Live, I watched on BR Live, and I didn't have any issues during the actual pay-per-view. During the pre-show, there was a little bit of issues at first. Then I just switched to YouTube to watch the pre-show. But other than that, it was good. A little more blood than I like personally. The women's match was awesome. A and B convos, I definitely agree with you. As far as the women's match, it was awesome. The blood, when it comes to them with the hardcore match, they made it so it was unsanctioned. So that is something that I don't think they're going to have all the time as far as barbed wire and things like that. I don't see them having that. I think personally that those types of matches are kind of played out. But Bran Hall, Dean is better now than he was in WWE. I think he's more happy now than he was in WWE, and he can do things that he wasn't able to do in the WWE. And Lone Wolf, how would you rate this show out of 10? Out of 10, I want to give this overall, I want to give it a 7 overall. There was really only one match I really disliked. Other than that, everything was good. There was some issues with timing cues and things like that. But other than that, it was a good show. That unsanctioned match is going to make Extreme Rules look like a playground. Extreme Rules isn't too extreme. Do you think AEW is better than WWE? Quite honestly, as far as wrestling goes, AEW does have the edge as far as overall presentation. WWE still, you can't beat it. WWE, they're going to have great matches on NXT. They're going to have great matches on 205. Main roster stuff. They have some good matches. Nothing great, but overall as a product, I still think WWE is probably better than AEW. I guess we'll just have to wait and see come October when we see the weekly television. There was that one, there was a few things tonight that really got me like with AEW, the whole librarian thing they're still doing, and the match with the CEO gaming guy, that was just a terrible match. So there's a few things they're doing that aren't great, and obviously there's lots of things that WWE is doing that isn't great as well. But that was the card here. Just able to log on. Can you give a quick recap of Mox versus Bad Boy? Definitely I can, Harry Elliott. The match was unsanctioned, quote unquote. They first started with the lights out, and then Mox came out and Janela came out, and they had a very hardcore match. There was tables involved. There was chairs. There was a ladder. There was barbed wire on a board, barbed wire on a chair. There was thumbtacks. There was a few spots where barbed wire definitely cut both guys. There was also a few things like with thumbtacks where that obviously stuck into both guys as well. So that was a quick recap. Jon Moxley won with his paradigm shift, aka the Death Rider, aka Dirty Deeds. So that was a quick recap of that match. Love having JR back in commentary. I found his commentary was a lot better here than it was on Double or Nothing personally. I definitely enjoyed it. Where was Y2J? Y2J wasn't on this card. He will be on. I guess they're still having I'm not sure if it was obviously something intentional, but they have the whole thing where, he's mad at the company for not thanking him. So he wasn't on the card tonight for whatever reason. Obviously, he's more of a special attraction with them. So I don't think they want to use him all the time just quite yet. So Marquise Booker, 8 out of 10 pay-per-view. I want to give it a solid 7. Chris Grimson, the main event was very entertaining. I enjoyed the show overall. Yeah, and you got to also think it was a free event. So on BR Live in Canada and the US, it was free. If you're outside of Canada and the US, it was a $10 pay-per-view. Totally worth it. It was great. So that being said, what do you rate it? In the comments after this video is published, you can definitely type that in. And if you want to see all the results, the link is in the description. One thing that you can do, obviously, to support the channel would be to thumbs up this video. Also subscribe and put notifications on. That does definitely help as well. That being said, as always, let me know what you think. And I'm just going to log off for the night. Have a great night, guys.